Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and it's always an interesting time when we get into the subject of apologetics at any level or any way, shape, or form. And today we're going to be talking about a book entitled Darwin's Doubt, The Explosive Origin of Animal Life and the Case for Intelligent Design, authored by Dr. Stephen Meyer. He is the director of the Discovery Institute's Center for Science and Culture and the founder of the intelligent design movement, and his books include the Explosive Evolution, or excuse me, Explore Evolution, and Darwinism, Design, and Public Education. And really delighted to have him with us today. I know he's on a fast track and a heavy schedule, so Dr. Meyer, nice to have you with us, my friend.
Yeah, great to be with you, Perry.
Thank you. Can you give us a little bit of an idea what's different about this book from what you've done previously?
Well, the first main book I did was called Signature in the Cell, and it was about the origin of the very first life, a question that Darwin himself didn't actually address. And in that book, I showed that there was powerful evidence for intelligent design from the very foundation, at the very foundation of life, and even simple one-celled organisms. And I argued in that book that, in particular, the information required to build a living cell is a powerful indicator of intelligent design, precisely because of what we know from experience, that it takes a mind to generate information, whether we find information in, especially when we find it in a digital form. And the second book, called Darwin's Doubt, is about not the origin of the first living cell, but the origin of the first animal life. And that's a question that Darwin did address, but in the Origin of Species, he acknowledged that he was really unable to explain it, because the first animal life appears in the fossil record at a time period called the Cambrian. And today we refer to that event as the Cambrian explosion, because so many new forms of life arose so quickly. And in the book, I addressed the doubt that Darwin expressed about that event, and then I trace that. I tell the story of that doubt and what's become of it in the ensuing 150 years, and I show that it's become really a profound mystery. It's grown up to become illustrative of a major problem in evolutionary theory, the problem of the origin of biological form, and also the problem, of the origin of biological information, because to build those new animals, you again need a great amount, reams and reams, in fact, of digital code and other forms of biological information.
All right, let me just encourage you. I'm sure you can get the book right at Amazon and Barnes & Noble?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, other online sellers. You can get it through my website by clicking on the Amazon, on the online seller of your choice. Yeah, but Barnes & Noble's also been featuring it with end cap displays and in-store displays and things. So
good. Congratulations. The Cambrian explosion. I mean, it suggests that it happened. It popped into existence, and you argue that.
Well, from a geological point of view, what we would say is that it's a very abrupt appearance. It's geologically sudden. The main pulse of the explosion is about 5 to 6 million years as measured in the standard geologic time scale. That's geologically sudden, but it also turns out to be biologically sudden, because the Darwinian mechanism has calculable, you can do the math, as it were, and determine how much change should likely occur in a given period of time. And when I say do the math, I'm talking about equations that flow out of the Darwinian theory itself in a subdiscipline of neo-Darwinian theory called population genetics. If you know the mutation rate, the generation times, the size of populations, you can calculate how much evolutionary change should take place in a given period of time, or conversely, how long you would have to wait for a given change to occur. And when you make those calculations, and I describe those in the book, it turns out that even very modest changes, enough change to produce a couple of coordinated mutations, will vastly exceed the amount of time available in the Cambrian explosion. Even 5 to 10 million years is a blink of the eye biologically, to say nothing of geologically.
Wow. So what is the general consensus of the Cambrian explosion?
Well, that it's a real problem. There are people on the internet that we've had a sort of a pile-on of aggressive atheistic bloggers who have tried to who have reviewed the book very negatively coming out of the chute. We had some reviews by 3 o'clock in the morning the night the book opened on June 18th, which is, I think, kind of amusing actually. But the main people working on the Cambrian explosion in paleontology and evolutionary biology acknowledge that it's a major unsolved problem. And there was another important book about the Cambrian that came out this year by James Valentine and Doug Irwin, two leading paleontologists. And the book was recently reviewed in Science, and the first paragraph of the review said that the Cambrian is one of the main and salient unsolved problems in evolutionary theory. And there's a good reason for that. It is the first appearance of animal life, and yet it appears so abruptly and requires so much, such a large infusion of new genetic information that really there's no mechanism to account for that infusion of form and information.
In your book, you say that the evolutionary biology is facing some kind of an engineering problem. What do you mean by that?
Well, there are two mysteries associated with the Cambrian, and in Darwin's Doubt, I tell the story as a mystery story. It's a great scientific mystery. And the first mystery is the mystery associated with the missing ancestral fossils. Darwin anticipated that in the lower Precambrian strata there would be a gradation of forms leading up to the Cambrian animals. Instead, they appear abruptly. He also expected that in the years after the publication of The Origin, that eventually those missing forms would be found. They haven't been found, and what has been found are more Cambrian animals, making the discontinuity, the abruptness of the appearance even more stark, because each of those new Cambrian forms has in turn lacked a Precambrian ancestor. So the explosion has become, from our point of view, even more explosive. But there's a second and more profound mystery, and that's the mystery of how you build an animal. That's the engineering problem. How would the neo-Darwinian mechanism, relying as it does on unguided, undirected natural processes, in particular the process of random mutation, generate all the information, all the instructions that are necessary to build those animals. We know from our own experience of computer code that if you start randomly changing the zeros and ones in a section of functional computer software, you're likely to degrade that information rather than generate a new operating system or program. And it turns out that the same thing is true in life, that random mutations will inevitably end up destroying the information that you have long before you get some new set of instructions for building something fundamentally new. And so what we've learned about the importance, the centrality of digital information, of instructions encoded in DNA and biological information generally to the construction and maintenance of life, have created a profound mystery surrounding the Cambrian. It's in a sense, the Cambrian explosion is an information explosion, and I ask in the book, where does that information come from?
What's this doing to academia?
Well, the book's only out a month, but I would actually argue that the problems that I address in the book have been well known to people in evolutionary biology for some time. And one of the things I do in the book that's kind of new is that I examine the 6 or so post-neo-Darwinian evolutionary theories that are being formulated. If you listen to the standard commentators on evolution, you get the idea that all is well in the house of Darwin. And yet within evolutionary biology itself, you find that there are major doubts being raised about the theory. The mechanism of natural selection and random mutation in particular has come in for considerable expressions of skepticism, and many evolutionary biologists themselves are now calling for or working on new theories of evolution because they recognize that the standard textbook theory is not adequate, and the mechanism of natural selection and random mutation in particular does not have the creative power that has long been attributed to it. So I think it's fair to say there is a crisis in evolutionary biology, and you see that in the proliferation of new theories attempting to solve these problems.
Do you think there'll ever be at least the opportunity to insert intelligent design as equal opportunity, or is it still going to be pretty much kept out?
Well, it depends on what you mean. Right now we're not trying to get it into the schools. That creates the major political problems that are distracting from the scientific work that we're doing. But what we see happening is a really rapid proliferation of interest in the perspective we're developing, and I would say by that I mean international interest.
Right.
We have a new journal called Biocomplexity. There's a distinguished editorial board. Scientists from around the world are contributing to the Intelligent Design Research Program. We have a lab here in Seattle, and there's and the books and articles keep coming out apace. So I think what happens in science is you really don't have a vote. What you have is, well, in the formal sense, but you have scientists voting with their feet and becoming part of the research effort, and scientists who are adopting the intelligent design perspective to guide their research as they look at life differently.
Great. That's great. Well, Dr. Meyer, I'm out of time, but thanks. Let's stay in touch. This is fascinating. And how can people correspond with you?
Yeah. The Discovery Institute website, discovery.org. My own website for the book is called darwinsdoubt.com. No apostrophe in Darwin, just darwinsdoubt.com.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Meyer. Let's stay in touch.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Oh, you bet. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, we're back, and we have two very special guests with us today. We have Elizabeth Slavik. She's the area representative of International Cultural Exchange Service. And Skyping in, we have Kari Owens, who's the regional administrator for International Cultural Exchange Services. And Kari, let me start with you. What is the International Cultural Exchange Service?
International Cultural Exchange Services, or we usually go by ICES, is a nonprofit organization that works with high school foreign exchange students. So we bring students from all around the world to spend either a semester or an academic school year living in the U.S., living with an American host family, and attending a public school with the goal of learning more about American culture and improving relationships between countries and cultures around the world.
That's wonderful. Mainly students coming in, or do you have students going out?
We do have students going out as well. We have a lot more that come this way, but we do have an outbound program as well. So American students are able to study abroad if they'd like to do that.
Wonderful. And so what's required of a student to do this?
Of a student, they have to, you mean for a foreign student to come here?
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, they meet with an agent in their country. They go through an application process. They're screened for maturity, for their English abilities, for their academics, just to make sure that they're a good candidate that will be able to be successful while on program. And then once they pass that screening process, their application is forwarded to us here, and we work on finding them a host family that will be a good match for them.
All right, and Elizabeth, you're in charge of the Rogue Valley.
Well, there's another area representative in Ashland, but yes.
Okay. And you have students coming in. How long are they here for?
They can be here either for a semester or the entire school year.
Really?
Yes.
Now, you need host homes, right?
That's right.
Tell us about what's required, what's needed.
Well, anybody can be a host family. You don't have to have kids in high school. You can have younger children. You can be single, empty nesters, grandparents, anybody, as long as you have extra love and a little bit of space. They don't need a bedroom of their own, but they need a bed of their own. They can share a room with a same-gender sibling at least 13 years old.
Okay.
Or a bedroom of their own. Host families provide room and board and loving parental guidance while they're here.
That's wonderful. And is there an age to this, Kari or Elizabeth? I mean, how young are we talking, or how old are we talking here?
All of the students are between 15 and 18, so they'll all be attending local public high schools.
Okay. And what do they do? Now, if a family is thinking about doing this, you know, maybe they do empty nest, they have a bedroom when they want to do this.
Right.
I mean, I think our own Paulina is a result of this. She came over as an exchange student and from Russia. So we're well aware that this can happen and be very successful. What does the family do? They get a hold of you, or
yes.
what?
Me.
How do they do?
My contact information is actually on the events section of the DOVE website under host families needed.
Okay. All right. And do you have a direct contact?
Well, they can call me. My number is 541 772 1294.
Okay. Now, how big is this program? How many students are you guys placing?
Well, I believe that there are like 1,000 coming to the United States for the school year. Oregon had last year 120 students, which was the most of any states in the United States. So 120 here to Oregon. That's
wonderful. And Kari, how do you find them, or how do they find you?
Well, the students, we work with agents in other countries, so that's how we find the students. The applications are delivered to us. As far as finding host families, we use a lot of different ways, including media like this, to look for good, loving, qualified host families that are willing to host a student. And I can just speak from my own experience. I was an exchange student as well in high school, and my family has hosted 8 different students, and my oldest daughter studied abroad. So we've kind of experienced this from all the different angles and have really seen just an enormous value in the program.
Wow, that's exciting. How is language a barrier, or is it?
Well, the students are screened for English, so all of them come over with some level of English, and it varies a little bit, from student to student. Generally speaking, the European students are quite fluent when they arrive. Some students from other parts of the world may not have quite as strong of English skills, but they will be able to converse immediately, and they'll be able to, to do school. They have to take a full course load, so their English has to be good enough for them to participate in school.
Well, Elizabeth, based on students coming to Oregon, what is it about Oregon that you have that they like? Do you got any feedback about being in this state?
Oh, I personally don't. I think just Oregon's a great state. There's many things to see. The diversity of people, no matter where you live, is a good thing.
Okay.
There actually are some students who would like to be placed in certain sections of the country. Oregon just is
one of them.
One of them, yeah.
Kari, you say you've hosted 8 students. Life-changing for your family?
Absolutely, very life-changing. We started hosting when my kids were young. My youngest was 5 and my oldest was 11. And we've continued to host on up through the years. And I've seen it impact my children, especially in that they have a real interest in what's going on in other parts of the world. And I know one thing that was really moving to me was the very first year we hosted, our daughter became friends with a student that we weren't even hosting, but just through our involvement in the program, she became friends with a student from a different part of the world. And later, after that girl had gone home, there was some political unrest in that country, and we saw a news story, and my daughter's response was, I hope she's okay. Wow. And I hope Diana's okay. And at this point, it wasn't just a country over there, but it became a real person to her. And that's been a real neat benefit. And it's really opened up the eyes of my kids to other countries. In fact, my son is on a missions trip this summer, and I think that in Madagascar, and I think that with all of my kids, their interest in other countries and cultures has been largely nurtured because of our hosting exchange students.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What an experience. And so, Elizabeth, you're looking for host families. And
correct.
Do you have a specific need? How many you need this year?
Well, last year in the Rogue Valley area, there were 12 students.
Okay.
But each high school allows a certain number of exchange students. So I'm looking from Ashland all the way up to Grants Pass, Rogue River, Eagle Point, Medford. So, I think the max we could probably have is maybe 20. Kari, you could you could tell me for sure.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that would be about right.
About 20?
So, we could still use probably 10 maybe.
Or 10 more homes. All right, so let me just say, if you think about this, pray about this, look at this, about bringing an exchange student into your home for at least a semester, maybe a whole school year.
Correct.
And your life's going to change, their life's going to change. You'll be really assisting them. And basically, you're mom and dad, room and board, right, for that period of time.
Right. And as an area representative, I am here to help if there's any problems with this. I help enroll the student in the school, and we do fun things as a group of exchange students as well as family, the whole group. So we get to know each other as a group as well.
Okay. Again, you may want to get a hold of Elizabeth. That number is 772-1294. And take a look at this, because we're almost getting ready to go back to school. It's hard to believe that, but it is coming on us pretty quick. You think you need about 10 homes right now?
Right, and we'd like everybody placed by August 15th.
Whoa.
So we're coming up to a deadline, yeah.
All right, so we want everybody placed. Well, okay.
So call me today.
Call her today, 772-1290. Now, can a host family, I mean, when that student comes in, they're part of that family, so they can take the student with them on weekends at the church and everything else? Right.
Most students are open to going to weekly church services, whatever the religion is. That does not, it's not a factor that they don't want to do. But yeah, if you want to go to the coast for the weekend, they go with you, go to the basketball game, whatever, that sort of thing.
You've adopted them for
basically that's about it.
It's an adoption for a period of time, and probably the beginning of a lifetime relationship.
A lifetime, yes, because a friend of mine had a student when her son was in high school, and he came back from Germany with his little 13-month-old daughter.
Oh, well, there you go.
So it is a lifetime thing.
Well, Kari and Elizabeth, thank you both for what you do. Keep up the good work. And again, if you're thinking about doing this and you want more information, get a hold of Elizabeth right away, 541-772-1294, or check it out on the Dove website under the events calendar part, and you can see some information there and contact information there. Kari, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Elizabeth, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Well, what an honor for me to have in the studio with us today a couple of very special gentlemen. We have Neil McCain back with us. He's the commander of the Korean War Veterans Association for the Department of Oregon. And with him is Ron Duke, who's the chaplain. And Neil, nice to see you back, friend.
Well, thank you very much.
Good to see you. And introduce Ron to us.
Ron Duke began with me in the very beginning, building a chapter in Grants Pass. And he also is our chaplain. And one of the things that we have is a mission to remember the forgotten. Mm-hmm. The forgotten, of course, is those ones that was killed. Mm-hmm. And so I started building some of these memorials for them. And Ron Duke has a gifted voice. And he is also he was a master sergeant in Korea. Wow. And he was on... the difference between the Army and the Navy, I was in the Navy. We killed from a distance. Yeah. It's easier. He was right next to where they killed the dirt soldier, right next to him. Wow. And he had seen people fall. And so he brings that caring, that experience each time he reads one of these memorials that I create. Yeah. And then he reads them. We've had radio announcers do it, and they do quite a very good job, but they don't have the compassion that Ron does.
Well, Ron, thank you for being with us. And I know you have one of those in front of you. Now, I understand you start your meetings by reading one of these memorials.
That's correct, yes. Every meeting we have one.
Every one. Well, would you mind taking a few moments and reading that one?
I'd be glad to now. I do get emotional, and why Neil likes the way I do it is because I break up.
Well,
I really do.
Yeah, well, it's a big part of your life.
I've read this over quite a few times. It's one that I read at our meeting some time ago. And I'm going to do it a little bit differently because it takes about half a minute to read. Yeah. But I'm going to go a little slower and explain some things that we know as veterans and ex-servicemen, we know, but anyone just hearing it the first time might not know. And this memorial is for Private First Class Charles Marvin Tannehill, who was in the Army. Service number RA28778271. Now the RA in the service number tells us that he enlisted. Mm-hmm. He was not drafted, or he didn't go in with the National Guard, or he was not a reservist. He enlisted. It's from Josephine County, Oregon, and he was born in 1932. Private First Class Tannehill was a member of Company L. It's starting right now. Company L, 3rd Battalion, 27th Infantry Regiment, 25th Infantry Division. And he was seriously wounded by the enemy in Korea, September 14th, 1950, and returned to duty September 25th.
Wow.
So he was wounded, he was treated, came back online.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
He was listed as missing in action while fighting in Korea, November 6, 1950. Now, missing in action, he was in some sort of an engagement, I don't know what kind, but when you're missing in action, you're usually dead. If you're not dead, you've been taken prisoner, and they have no idea what happened to him. As far as his body was never found, and he was presumed dead December 31st, 1953, which is after the peace treaty was signed. Then the missing in action they couldn't account for. They presumed them dead. So Private Tannehill earned the Combat Infantry Badge, the Purple Heart, National Defense Medal, Korean Service Medal with 1 Bronze Service Star, United Nations Service Medal, and the Republic of Korea Service Medal. That's the presidential citation. That's this little one right here from the President of Korea for the troops that served over there. And he was 18 years old.
Wow. Wow.
He was a hero.
Yes, he was. Well, incredible. And I certainly respect and understand your emotion in all of this, Ron. What is your main mission, Neil, with the Korean War Veterans Association?
Well, we have a mission, and remembrance of the fallen is one of them. There's 6 of them in a list. I apologize for not having memorized it, but it's to remember the war, of course, the forgotten. It's also to support a free Korea. We're not to be political. It seems like also we are, but it is the forgotten war. And we have a mission, and that mission is on the main website of the Korean War Veterans, and that is Korean War, KWVA.org.
Okay.
And that mission is on that front page.
KWVA.org. How many Korean War veterans in Oregon still live in Oregon?
Well, now that's difficult. We've been told by the VA over here that there's about 2,000 in Southern Oregon.
Wow.
There was no way to really confirm that at the present.
And you're still looking for them, because when you meet them, you send them a certificate.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. In fact, I had one call here, this is a local from White City, and I made his. Yeah. He told me he wasn't a staff sergeant, he was something else, so I had to change it and send him another one.
Okay.
But I do this for the living as well as the passed on. The way I do the passed on is I have to have somebody give me a name, because I've made so many of them and nobody knows them. And so I've been asking, give me a name of someone that was killed, and so I can make these memorials. And in fact, Ron and I both have made them into DVDs to where they play them at one of their meetings.
And the DVD, it's interesting, the DVD taps is playing in the background. You talk about emotion.
Yeah.
It's there.
You know, I have in my Bible in my office, in fact, I just officiated at a service at the Veterans Cemetery in Eagle Point. And did you know there's words to taps?
Yes.
Yes, yes. I knew that. I don't know what they are, but I do know them.
It's beautiful. When you read the words and then you hear the taps, then you realize what's really happening. So as the certificate goes out, people that need to get a hold of you, whether they are living or they know someone that has died in that war, they should get a hold of you so they can get that certificate. Is that right?
Yes, I do them for free.
Okay, and how do they do that, Neil? What's the best way to do it?
Email, probably.
Okay.
As I wear 2 hearing aids, and when I got my phone, I've got to put it on speaker.
Yeah.
McCain,
Okay.
Now, it's easy to remember because I lost the election.
Yeah, right.
At clearwire.net.
Okay, clearwire.net.
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about your service, Ron, over there. How long were you there? And
I was overseas a little over a year, and we trained extensively in Japan before we went into Korea. And I was there what they call the second winter. That is the winter of 51-52.
Wow. And as Neil said, you were frontline combat.
I was a master sergeant, a 22-year-old master sergeant. Some people say, "Oh, how did that happen?" Oh, that there were a lot of us.
Yeah.
There were vacancies that needed to be filled, and if you did it, you got the rank with it. But I was a platoon sergeant in a rifle platoon in a rifle company.
Wow.
I was in the 224th Regimental Combat Team, and incidentally, we just had our last reunion last month, and we called it our last reunion because our ranks are diminishing.
Right.
However, I think we're going to have maybe many reunions, M-I-N-I, many reunions from now on. People will get together and we'll still meet. But there's a comradeship there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no question about
Yeah.
it. No question about it. And the Korean War Memorial, Neil, up out of Wilsonville,
Yes.
is now, you found it. It's getting more significant.
Yes,
and
of course.
And you bring great attention to it. And the governor now has gotten in on this and helped you with this.
Yes, he has. In fact, this last on the Saturday, whenever they had quite a thing there, the governor has been very supportive of us veterans, and he has attended all of the activities that we've had. And there's a large Korean population in Portland that just are overwhelming, trying to thank us all the time. And they have quite a thing. And I left several DVDs up there for them. I made the DVD of similar to these books. And the book there has got the front page. That's what the DVD is.
Yeah. Okay.
And the DVD is each state showing how many were killed from that particular state, and it takes 2 hours to go through it all. But it's the books cost $65 a piece to print, so I haven't published them. I just make them offer for free off my website.
Okay. Well, Neil and Ron, thank you both, not only for your service, but for coming in today and keeping us aware. Again, a couple things. You may want to do kwva.org, check that out. And if you want to get a hold of Neil McCain at clearwire.net, if you know somebody, maybe you yourself or a Korean vet, or you know somebody that is or was, you can get a hold of him, and he has a certificate that he sends out in appreciation, and it's free. And again, thank you, and continue to read those with your heart, Ron.
Thank you.
They're well felt, and we sense that deeply, so thank you so much. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you very much.
Blessings on you both. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Well, we've all been concerned about companies going down the tubes, and now we're looking at cities filing bankruptcy. What does this mean, and can it be turned around? Can it be stopped? Well, I'm delighted to have with us today Sandy Steinman. He is a consultant, a business turnaround specialist, as they say. He's the CEO of Profitability Partners Incorporated, a consulting firm specializing in turning around small businesses, and has resulted in additions to tens of millions of dollars of profits to his clients and companies by working with them. And Sandy, nice to have you with us today.
thank you, Kari. It's great to be with you. Thank you.
This is so fascinating to me because I've seen companies that on the brink, if not already into bankruptcy, come out and do just fine. Now we're watching a city go into this. What does Detroit need to do to turn things around from your perspective?
Well, they've got to behave like a business, first of all, and they've got to really take stock of where they are. One of the first things that I do, Kari, when I go into a company is I do what's called a physical exam, just like when you go to a doctor. And you kind of try to peel back all the layers that's there and see really what it is that's ailing them. So, let's look at Detroit for just a minute, because there's a lot of illness there. Detroit at one time had 1.8 million people in its city.
Right.
Today, they're struggling to hold on to 700,000.
Whoa.
That's a huge drop. Now, here's the problem. They're operating like they still had 1.8 million.
Right.
Their population has dropped 25% in the last 10 years.
Wow.
So that's a problem. Michigan as a whole lost 48% of its manufacturing jobs. Obviously, that affects Detroit. Here's a worrisome part that you discover in the physical exam. Detroit has been paying its payroll. They have 10,000 people on their payroll. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But they have 10,000 people on their payroll. They've been paying it with bonds for the last couple of years.
Wow.
That are backed by the state of Michigan.
Whoa.
Guess what happens?
Yeah.
Where's that domino going to fall? It's going to fall right back to the state of Michigan. That's going to be a problem because they're not going to pay their bondholders.
Right.
That's what's going to happen. The 10,000 people is an amazing number. You look at a healthy city. I look at Austin, Texas, as being a very healthy city fiscally. They have, let's see, one city employee for every 70 citizens. Well, that's exactly the same number, same ratio that Detroit has, but they're not healthy. And so, that number probably needs to be, double. One city employee for every 140 citizens. So they're going to have to work on that. Just a couple other things. A third of all the homes in Detroit's 140 square miles are either vacant or derelict. Average home price in Detroit's $9,000. Hey, is that amazing?
Wow.
$9,000. 18% unemployment. 60% of all Detroit's children live in poverty. 50% of the population is functionally illiterate. This is a very sick city, and through it all, Detroit's leaders have been operating on a business-as-usual basis.
All right. Now, you see this paralysis, if not disease, so to speak, in other cities, and if not nationally. We just don't run these governments like we run companies.
Well, we don't. And you know what? I just think so much of the problem comes from having people at the head of, whether it's cities or states or our federal government, folks who are used to signing the back of the paycheck instead of the front of the paycheck.
Yeah.
Somewhere there needs to be some resident adults, so that when there's problems, we don't just kick the problem down the road. We deal with it. And I'd like to tell you, Kari, that it's rocket science, so I can really be smart, but it's really not.
How many small businesses fail? I mean, and is there a common thread in their failure?
Oh, yeah. 600,000 small businesses fail every year. That's 3 million employees.
Wow.
At any one time, there's about 2.5 million businesses that are in some level of trouble, ranging from the very beginning where cash has just gone negative, but you know what? They're just going to mortgage their home to, to fund it for right now. To, oh my God, I'm going to go out of business because I can't borrow another penny, and we don't have any money left. But 600,000 of them fail every year, and the things that to give myself an unabashed plug. The title of my book is for a reason. The Small Business Turnaround Guide, Take Your Business from Trouble to Triumphant. There are specific differences between troubled companies and triumphant companies. For example, troubled companies rarely have a real vision. But they didn't have a real vision when they started their company. Triumphant companies always do. Give you an example. Walt Disney, when he formed the Disney companies, he said that his vision was we're in the happiness business. Mm-hmm. He could have said, hang on, just bear for 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay. 1 second, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to email and just send you this one.
Okay, they're doing a little bit of a tech adjustment there. The book is entitled The Small Business Turnaround Guide by Sandy Steinman. You may want to check that out and take a look at it at Barnes & Noble or online at Amazon. Again, it's called The Small Business Turnaround Guide, Sandy Steinman. All right, we got you back?
I'm back.
Okay.
I'm actually going to have some more information about Detroit right now. I'll give it to you in just 1 second. But to go back to where we were, Disney, Walt Disney said we're in the happiness business. He could have said we're in the entertainment business, we're in the theme park business, but they're not. Everything that he has to do is happiness for the folks, for his guests who are in the park. And so businesses have to have the same thing. Troubled businesses almost never have an operating plan. Triumphant businesses always have an operating plan. And the reason it's so important, and usually, by the way, I'll ask prospective clients, well, do you have a plan? Well, now I know where I'm going. Well, if it's not in writing, you don't. And operating a business without a plan is just like, getting in the car to go on a trip without a destination or a map. You just go. You don't know when you get there. You don't even know where there is. And that's what troubled businesses do. They rarely have a good collection process. They rarely have good communication within the company. They certainly don't hold their employees accountable and reward them. They let their employees delegate up to them, and they have no idea how to implement change. There's a whole chapter in the book on implementing change, but those are the basics. Okay,
and the book is entitled, let me get again. The book is entitled The Small Business Turnaround Guide. Stanley, I'm going to run out of time, but a couple quick things. One is, of all the businesses you've gone in and you turned around, was there anything that really jumped out at you? Was there any particular experience that grabbed your attention more than anything else?
Oh, boy, you know what? You're the only person who's ever asked me that, and there is. It was a good job, Kari. Man, I had a company. They were a concrete contractor. Been in business 40 years. Lost $3 million over the previous 3 years before I met them.
Wow.
When I met them, they told me I couldn't help them. And I said, well, what's going on? I said, I don't know. Working hard. Told me they were getting over 50% of the jobs they bid on, which kind of gave me a little bit of a hint. But at any rate, I did this. They gave me some hints. I did what's called a fully burdened labor analysis. And what I found was for every dollar that they billed for, they were losing $3.
Wow.
And so I told them that they had to raise their rates. And they said, well, we can't. We won't get any more jobs. We'll go out of business. I said, it doesn't matter. You're going to go out of business anyway.
Yeah.
So they did it. And you know what? 2 years later, they made $1 million.
Wow.
That's a big difference. You got to know you're charging the right amount of money.
All right. Listen, I understand you're offering something with your book if people get a copy of it.
Well, I do. Thank you. If they'll get a copy of it, I'm giving them, it's called a profitability analysis, and it lets them know how their company stacks up to upper quartile performers of their size in their industry. And if you know what, if knowledge is power, this is pure dynamite, because it lets them know how much they're leaving on the table every year, and what they're, what they could go after if they really made their business better.
Do you have a website, Sandy? People want to get a hold of you or correspond with you? Yeah. What is it?
Yeah, absolutely. They can get, well, first of all, the website is www.businessturnaroundguide.com, and they can correspond with me at sandy@businessturnaroundguide.com.
Okay. Fascinating. Let's stay in touch. I think you're a real resource, and and like you said, it doesn't take rocket science to figure some of this stuff out. I mean, there's only so much coming in and so much going out, and if the going out exceeds the coming in, you're in trouble.
You've got the formula. You can be a consultant. That's right.
All right. Thanks, Sandy. Let's stay in touch. Nice talking to you.
Thank you, my friend.
Okay.
Bye.
See you later. All right. Again, the book is entitled The Small Business Turnaround Guide, and you can get it at Barnes & Noble or online at Amazon.com, and mention you heard it on the Dove, and you'll get that little profit guide as well by Sandy Steinman. All right. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.